Like your friend.
Some people say I could work on them. Next year.
Hey, Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I'll stop with this.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Take care of them. Yeah, whatever you do.
Thank you, guys.
Good evening, everyone. We have a sign-in sheet. If you could please sign in so that way we can just keep track of who came tonight. We also have our raffle ticket for a $25 gift certificate to bookshop.org. It's over here in the corner. We do have some of our books that our members have been published in, and we do have two silent auctions going. One is for these again, that were made just this night. There's two of those. And we have some BWW beer requests. Oh, cool. So we'll be starting probably in about 10 minutes, but feel free to come up and buy your tickets and check out the silent auction. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. So that's what it's shocking away. Winter. It's like something. Yeah. So what I'm looking for. Is that C major? So.
They have. You're part of my house.
Oh, do I have to stay next to you? No.
Oh. Here it comes. Yeah.
She wanted to get, she had a sweater, she got covered back here, but she looked messy.
Yeah. Oh, my nerve. Pops make me out. I should have asked Sarah. You probably should have upstairs. We've seen each other on the trail before. Trail games. I thought it was Fido. I guess I'll sit right here.
Somebody else was hanging.
Okay, can you get a picture of, Will you? Hold on, hold on. Good shot. You get some-
Okay, that's all.
I will.
Now,
1-for-1.
Yes.
4-5. Oh, this is great.
Oh, that is very good.
Oh, always. Don't worry about that.
Should, reasonably almost were,
It's a 5-second.
but I was perfectly, sober. Recorded it, and I was sort of.
Like I start. What is going on here? I didn't know.
That's intriguing. Or some such.
Yeah.
Come on, writers, come on, you better one. All over you. What?
They're so short. That's true. Done. Nobody's gonna be like.
I just remember, well, since I leave. Don't know. Yeah, over there. Easy. It's very good.
I pictured a giant box. My brother.
We're about ready to start. If everybody likes to take their seats. If there's. Is there anybody out in the hall? No, it's right. Are you talking? What's a good time? Hello, come on in. We're just getting ready to start. We're just starting this. For those of you I have not met, my name is Samantha Finner-Sam. I'm the managing director here at BWW. And tonight, on behalf of the leadership team and the board, we welcome that everybody is here, and we're glad that you're here to support all of our readers and writers. What we did for this event is we charged $5 for, oh, now people can hear me. We charged $5 entry fee in order to submit your story. Half of that money is being used as cash prizes for the top 3 winners tonight. We will be reading 10 stories. 3 of those will be our winners, and we'll have 7 honorable mentions. All of our stories for tonight will be up on our website, hopefully by midnight, but we'll see. So if you want to go back and read them again. The way we did our competition, if you are a reader or a judge, you could not submit because it didn't seem fair. We also kind of paid attention, make sure nobody in your family submitted. But then the stories were blinded. We took off all the identification information. I got to do that. And then I gave the stories to our readers, and they came back and told me which ones won. So, and now we're here tonight. So our first story is Sarah Ellis.
Oh. So glad to be here on the Statue of Liberty. This is called Giving Up the Ghost. Roxanne was goal-oriented. All it would take was 3 drops of Fix-All potion and Robbie Ramon's bottle of swamp sludge. Then she would finally, in her senior year, have a date to the Goblins and Ghouls Halloween dance. She was dressed for the holiday as the lead singer from Sammy and the Ghost, her favorite band. No one understood her costume. Did you hear he's handing out bandages instead of candy? Can't believe he asked her mom as his date. Earthworm is not a sexy costume. I don't care how tight her dress is. Once Roxanne forced her earbuds into her ears and pushed play on Love Eternal, Sammy's sweet husky voice obliterated the voices of her classmates. Love hurts sometimes, love stings, but what else is there that sings? True, the potion was from Discount Brews and claimed it fixed your problem, which technically could be anything. But listening incessantly to Sammy and the Ghost songs while her classmates held seances or whatever those shallow, insecure automatons did in their free time had made her problem clear. She was living in the before love half of the song with too much silence. She was ready for after. Roxanne slipped around her lumbering classmates, easy as she wasn't trapped in useless conversation. I could give up food and drink, but not you standing by the sink. In the lunchroom, she spotted Robbie immediately. Bored expression, bags under his eyes. She pulled a bottle of swamp sludge out of her bag and squeezed in 3 drops of potion. The soda sparkled. Suddenly, drums clashed in her headphones. You don't love me alone, and I know darkness, now you're gone. Roxanne shuddered. She hated this song, the first Sammy released after the band fell apart. She tossed the soda onto the table and pressed skip until flute music filtered through her earbuds. She turned back to the table and her heart stopped. The soda was gone. Roxanne careened around and watched, horrified, as a girl in a blue wig tilted sparkling swamp sludge to her lips. A solid green soda sat right beside it. It was like breathing through cotton balls, a stupid soda switch, and there would be no love, no date to the dance, just her alone, like always. The girl had eyes the shape of quarters, and they were crinkled in concern. Hey, you okay? I'm fine. Are you sure? You look like Sammy Sanderson did when she painted her face green. Roxanne stopped breathing. You know Sammy and the Ghost? Oh, Sammy's amazing, but I prefer her new stuff once she's dumped the transparent guy. She's been collaborating with amazing bands lately. Did you hear her sing with Manic Pixie Nightmare? Roxanne shook her head. Here, take my earbud. I'm Amelia, by the way. Want to sit down? Roxanne searched the lunchroom for Robbie Ramon's vacant stare. Sure, she said, a smile cracking open her face. It's time for something new.
Our second reader is Lorraine Ryan.
Title is Friendliest Town There Is. 11 months of the year, Turner Falls is a model of constraint, coloring each day inside the lines. But in late October, the small town lets its hair down, partying hard. Quaint villages like Tarrenton and well-known Sleepy Hollow border us, and spillover tourists flood our streets. The friendliest town there is, signs declare. Sunday's church attendance brings tears of joy to Pastor Dwight, as both the church and collection basket fill up. I'm one of the spillovers that love this picturesque town and its promise of home, hearth, and happiness so much I bought a blue Victorian in the middle of town. The week before Halloween, I whistled out the front door with our golden Maisie on a leash. Tourists carrying packages and shopping bags bustled everywhere. Pumpkins, baskets of apples, candles were in shops. Old Mrs. Henderson tended her marigolds on her knees, and I called out a greeting. She turned around and smiled. I gasped. Under her gardener's sun hat was a skull, white and gleaming. Wispy strands of gray hair floated in an airless day. Her eyes found me, but how can I say eyes where there weren't any? Just empty sockets, as empty as the soul in her ancient body. I wanted to scream, but was frozen. Maisie first growled, then whimpered, and pulled me away. Shaken, I managed to walk a few paces, then turned around. Mrs. Henderson was now standing up and talking to the mailman. She was not a corpse, but fully fleshed and alive. I shook my head as though trying to shake sense into me. Do nightmares only appear in the dark, slithering in like a cold serpent intent on prey? Beware what lurks when the sun burns and blinds. I passed every home, every store, every building, and the same thing happened over and over. When Tom Flynn, who owned the Turner Falls Diner, lifted his hat in a pleasant greeting, his head left his shoulders. How are you today, Patricia? He grinned. Blood dripped from his neck, but this time Maisie escaped from my hold and had run toward the church. Pastor Dwight sat at the picnic table by the church with his wife and 3 children. Patricia, you're looking well. Come break bread with us. The family once looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. Now looked like Strike Fear on a Stephen King book cover. My dog ran. Why give excuses to this family of demons? But they were smiling. Every horrific townsperson of Turner Falls I met beamed pleasantly. No getting around it. They were genuinely friendly for dead people. Maisie barked behind the church and the cemetery. She wagged her see-through ghostly tail when I found her. The crowd stood by a small gravestone. I didn't have to read it to know whose name would be etched in granite. Welcome, Patricia, their voices comforting. I smiled. Turner Falls is indeed the friendliest town there is.
So since the beginning of COVID, we went online and BWW grew. We are now in over 12 countries. So that is part of the reason that we have some of our readers and some of our guests up on the screen tonight. One of our readers is Sharon Johnson, who's up here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon. I'm sorry I can't be with you. I'm with you in spirit. The title of my short story is It's Coming. It's coming. The crackle of a fallen leaf underfoot. A shot of brilliant red in an otherwise green leaf tree. A certain crispness in the morning air. All of it could mean only one thing. Jenna shuddered to think of it. Not again. It happened every year, of course. There had never been any denying it, nothing to keep it at bay. The annual ritual had come upon them so fast. Had it already been a year? She shook her head to shake away the image of what was to come. There was time yet. Time to enjoy outings with her grandchildren. Time to have another nice dinner out. Maybe she and Peter could squeeze in a quick weekend getaway. Surely they'd be able to do at least that before. No, she admonished herself. Best not to think about what was to come. Best to enjoy all the fun things they could do in the few days they had remaining. And they did. She and Peter treated the kids to a musical at the Flynn, followed by dinner at American Flatbread. Order freely, Peter had said, and it made Jenna's heart lurch to realize she wouldn't be hearing those words again for a while. She went to the beauty salon and paid for gold highlights to frame her face. If she couldn't be bold about what she was about to endure, she could at least try to be beautiful. She and Peter took walks along Airport Road and stood and watched sailplanes take off and land. We'll still be able to do this, Peter said, squeezing her hand. Nobody can take this away from us. Jenna smiled, both to reassure Peter and to convince herself. They'd been through this before, several times, in fact. And each time it took ages to get over the pain and shock of it. Still, they'd managed to survive, but every year was a little bit different. Every year had its unknowns. There were no guarantees, no certainty about what was to come, and therefore, no way to shore up emotional reserves against it. Like residents of coastal towns who'd had ample warning of a hurricane, but were still in shock when their rooftops blew away, each year found Jenna numb with disbelief at what had occurred. More leaves crackled underfoot. Oranges and yellows joined the reds blooming on the mountainsides. The Mad River Valley was a riot of color, but the vibrancy of the trees was nothing compared to the anxiety building in Jenna's heart. It would be any day now. She was on the back deck, sweeping away leaves, when she turned to see Peter standing in the doorway. She didn't need to see the envelope in his hand or read the return address of the Warren municipal offices. His expression told her everything she needed to know. The Warren annual tax bill had arrived. Thank you.
Madeline Wilson.
Hi. My dog didn't eat it, so I call that a win. The cat on Cherry Hill. Maggie Grace became familiar with the graveyard. Every day she hiked the hill on the edge of town, wearing the color of mourning and wandering row after row until she reached her destination. One white gravestone under a cherry tree with a name she knew well. Such a sad little thing. She's hoping her father will turn up. The townspeople had much to say. Concerned and embarrassed, Maggie's mother presented her with a cat, whose black fur softened their familial grief. It went everywhere with Maggie clinging to her feet so that she frequently lost her footing. When her mother was carried off in a body bag, the cat was there. When her aunt came to visit and fell ill, the cat was there. When she met and then buried her foster parents, the cat was there. It was the repeated offensive moments that became suspicious, so that soon Maddie looked at her cat without looking eyes and instead saw it for what it was, a curse. For 3 months, Maggie attempted to rid herself of the cat. I'll take it to the farm. And so she did, only to awaken that night with it still curled at her feet. Maybe the station. And so she did, only to find herself wrecked at a wrecked scene, 20 passengers dead in a railway car, she and her cat leaving unscathed. She's cursed. Don't let her in. It's that cat. No, it's her. She's crazy. The townspeople talked once again, and she felt their words stain her like the cherries that lay on the graveyard's floor. Isolated by those who once celebrated her life and thwarted from living by a cat whose presence caused death, she took herself back to the graveyard and began building her house on the hill next to the white gravestone, where the tree that spilled fruit and stained the ground red. She wandered at night with her cat at her feet and jolted when one evening she caught sight of a man coming up the hill. Afraid her cursed life would cost him his, she began to run at him, grabbing branches of the cherry tree and flinging them this way and that as she carried herself towards the man. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. She yelled at him, cursing him to turn away, but just as she saw his face, familiar, and began to put down her arms, she was tripped by an animal with fur, black. Down she fell with all branches scattering but one, which snapped and pierced her through the heart, a new stain upon the ground. And so it was that her father now stood, a black cat by his feet, at one white gravestone under a cherry tree with a name he knew well, the gravestone of Maggie Grace.
Ian Hyatt.
Evening, everyone. This is called a hallowed tradition. First, carefully traverse Bill Grant's 12-acre pumpkin patch. Only the rotten ones are left. Then, cut along the gully to the towering pines, just visible from my back porch. Weave amongst the pines for about 20 minutes. There, you can find the ancient apple orchard, planted a few hundred years ago. Quiet, abandoned in the forest, owned by a couple from New York who come out once a year to holiday at the nearby mansion. Are we really doing this? Kayla asks. This is a Halloween tradition, Tasha insists. She's the strong one. We've been doing this for years. She would want us to. I agree. Marcus does too. Kayla opens her mouth to argue, but stops. Zach is quiet. Zach always liked me. I like him too. But our senior year of high school is well underway. I just knew we would never be together. Tasha carries the old wooden spirit board discovered in her grandmother's attic our freshman year. She places it on the massive stump, while Kayla, hands shaking, sets the candles around our group and lights them each in turn. The chilled night is quiet, but for the crickets playing a tune to accompany a soft breeze. Every year we sit in the same spots. It's unspoken, tradition. So I gently settle in beside Marcus. He doesn't seem to mind, huddled in a hoodie identical to one of mine, marching band insignia. A wan smile drifts on and off his face, the only view of the indecision within. Zach sits across from us, steel gaze on the board. He dares a look up in my direction, and I see a smirk of memory. Unlike Marcus, Zach sticks around. I smile back and wish we could each overcome the barrier between us and be together, but we won't. The candles are nearly done circling our group now that Tasha has started helping Kayla. The grill lighter that Kayla brought is not the best for candles, but Tasha carries a Bic on her at all times for mostly innocent reasons, but occasionally nefarious ones as well. Tasha takes her spot between Marcus and Zach with a heavy sigh. Kayla sits between Zach and me, but I notice her inch toward him. I wonder, not for the first time, if she has feelings for him too. Everyone ready? The group is silent. I consider attempting to interrupt, but decide against it. Tasha takes the silence as permission. We gather here again to speak to the spirits on All Hallows Eve. We beg the spirits allowed to roam today to make a connection. She swallows hard. We miss our friend. She died in August. Abby Harwood, are you with us tonight? I sigh. That's my cue. Gathering my energy, I move toward the board. My hand slips through Marcus and he shudders. I look at my friends, my best friends. I miss them so much. I summon all my strength to move the spirit board marker to yes.
So now we're gonna take a 10-minute break. For those of you who have not had a chance to get a raffle ticket for the $25 gift certificate to bookshop.org, now would be a great time. We also still have the silent auctions going for both the beer glasses and the bookmarks. Thank you.
The final sentence.
Yeah. Oh, I need to. Yes.
I love your writing. My daughter. Yeah, so a couple parties ditching me, and I was spend the night at her place. And she might have liked. Actually, I love the preparedness, and I also love
Lighter.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm good with it. I know it's. Let's see, that's right. I don't even think. There we go. Yeah. Oh, look
I should be ready. No, but I don't. Yeah. You know.
I just made it find you. Yeah. Owl, yeah.
The owl.
That's what they're called. They're called an owl. They're called- it's a demonic wolf. And it looks You're writing it. No, I haven't read others. Yeah. Yeah. All inside. I like writing about a very dramatic time. That's what it's trying to do. Oh, I think it's hard. If they have like shared like any other amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of like it wasn't that really. Yeah. It must be that people graduated from ethnic money. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a blast. Oh, yeah.
Although they need.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I agree. I really Why ask them? All right. Quick announcement. If anybody does not bought a raffle ticket and would like to, or multiple, now's your last chance. We're about to do the raffle. Keep it informed.
Those. Oldest, very small.
Everybody gets back, gets a one. Yes, last ball. Absolute last ball. So tonight, for the raffle, Isaac's gonna help me, he's gonna do our drawing. So shake him up and pull him up.
Not that one.
Okay, our number is 837314. Those of you at home who have raffle tickets, be sure that you check your numbers.
Yay.
We have a winner. Okay,
And do I redeem it?
so.
And
So bookshop.org wants to send the gift card directly to you, so it'll be mailed out on Monday. Okay? All right. We will do the silent auction at the end, so hopefully more people will, put their bids in. Okay, so we're back to our stories. A. Bacchus.
Hello, I am Natasha. I'm here with my partner Boris, but. And the title of this is Fears Known and Unknown. That was a footstep, whispered Louis. He drew his gun from the holster under his arm and moved behind a tall, bare pine trunk. Vasily rolled his eyes. An animal, he said aloud. The Carpathian forest of red and yellow-orange leaves, swirling or floating out to the floor with each breeze, held no danger for him, only magic. Threat was a KGB torture cell. Fear was an interrogator with that look in his eye. You just knew he enjoyed inflicting pain. Wildlife in a forest? No problem. No, listen, it's big. It may be a trap. What if they ambush the camp? Louis's black eyes had opened wide with terror as he matched his tall, gangly form to the trunk he tried to hide behind. If you are going to jump at every sound, Louis, we will never get there. But Vasily kept going, not wanting to be late. Louis crashed behind him, breathing hard, gun in hand, but at least he was moving. Uncle Bertrand had neglected this part of their education. Louis operated best in effete salons, wearing a boiled shirt and dinner jacket. Vasily's uncles, anti-Soviet forest partisans of the old school, had completed his education on these dense slopes when he was 14. You move too fast, Vasily. You move too loud. I tell you, I hear something following us. Are we even on the right trail? How can you tell? A yellow moon showed the way through half-naked deciduous branches and waving fronds of fir. Vasily knew the differences of sound between ordinary predators, wolves and bears, and the vicious kind, humans. Like the difference between the clang of a lock and the turning of a key. These forests hold many threats, Louis, older than the KGB. There are vampires here, more powerful and immortal. You don't believe that. Vasily wondered how much higher he could drive the nervousness in Louis's voice. It is fact. I have seen them. Now that the sun has set, we are at risk. I refuse to believe it. Should I tell him about the bear? Vasily saw no fun in dangerous realities. Vampires suck your blood at the neck when they catch you. My uncle Lazar watched it happen to his friend Janos. He said it seemed Janos lived on, but his face had no color after that, and Lazar never saw him again in sunlight. Very strange. You're lying, Vasily, stop it. Vasily stopped, raised one hand, and whispered, did you hear that? He was sure Louis would have his finger in the trigger guard by now. Time to deflect the round. Up there, he pointed. Sometimes they drop on you. The wind did the rest, or maybe it was a squirrel. Louis' suppressed Modele 1935 didn't echo badly when he fired, but they were close enough to camp for it to become part of the entertainment around the fire, all laughing variations about the time Louis shot the moon. Mark.
Thank you. The neighborhood. Welcome to my dysfunctional family. You won't recognize us. We are not what you come to expect when you hear the word dysfunctional. We celebrate Halloween all year round, but we don't advertise. We don't need fake tombstones and skeletons, stupid glow-in-the-dark ghosts. We of the real deal. You have no idea. Home sweet home, the burbs, life is good t-shirts, real cute. You want a pillowcase full of candy? Follow me. What are you talking about? Where's my brother? How did I get here? You really don't appreciate how special this day is. You think it's all about feeding your sweet tooth, stuffing your pudgy little putrid face, eating, buying. Take a selfie. I've got some selfies to show you. Where is my brother? He's waiting for you. Where? This way, but be careful. The stairs are old and slippery. I'm not going down there. Why not? Why? You knocked on my door. You came begging. All I said was trick or treat. A little old for this, aren't you? I'm 15. I was taking care of my brother. I guess you're not a very good babysitter. The large, hairy man licked something white and foamy from his shabby mustache, then started down the creaky stairs, his blue work pants falling well below the crack in his ass. Elliot turned to run, but there was no place to go. The hallway had disappeared. His brother was laughing. I'm sorry. He was engulfed in darkness. Then he heard his brother laughing and some other children. It was coming from the basement. Reluctantly, he followed the oaf. The smell of damp earth and gasoline wafted up from the cellar, and a peculiar odor he didn't recognize. The temperature dropped. The cellar was piled high with junk, old engines, shelves with old coffee cans, a pinball machine, TVs, radios, every kind of tool imaginable, and taxidermy. A raccoon, beaver, deer, black bear, and even a squirrel. Elliot thought for sure the faces, covered in dust and cobwebs, were smiling. The man was no longer in front of him. Elliot made his way through a narrow path, still following the sound of children. Suddenly there was something over his head. He was cold and warm at the same time. Elliot struggled to breathe. He couldn't move. His mouth was dry, his thirst intense, no more sound. Elliot's mother was crying when he saw his eyes flicker and open. Elliot looked around, disoriented. Eventually he asked, "Where am I?" "You're at home, sweetie. You ate too much candy and forgot to take your insulin." "Where's Malcolm?" "Don't worry about your little brother. He's with a new friend." "But where?" "You know that black house on the corner, the one we always comment on because it seems like no one is ever home?" Well, turns out there's a boy there his age. Elliot felt a burst of adrenaline, tried to jump out of bed, but passed out before he could move.
And our next story again is one of our hybrids, Dick Mattson.
Butcher Boy. I'm the bird that cleans the crocodile's teeth hanging with Buddy Boggs, the school bully. Mom says bullies are just kids who feel ashamed and inadequate, like if they're bullied by their dads. But even Mom gets creepy feelings when Buddy comes over. One morning, he ate all the cooked chicken we were going to have for supper. You can't take things from our refrigerator without getting my permission, she told him. Yeah, but I just did, didn't I? He said back to her. He's bigger than the two of us together. Anyway, we're going to have a Halloween party in his basement on Saturday, a few days before trick or treat. His idea. Get some blood on those cheesy costumes, right, Raj? He's going as a butcher. I'm a cat, a costume Mom made me, and I've worn for 3 years. We invited about 30 kids from our class and neighborhood. Most of them said they might come because they didn't want a Buddy ear twist. Only my other friend, Dev, a Wookiee, and a 7-year-old girl, Nita, a princess, who just moved in next door to Buddy, showed up. Cool beans, he whispered. I'll chop her up with my cleaver. He brandished his cardboard cleaver with red magic marker for blood. That's not funny, I told him behind my hand. Don't scare her. He slapped the back of my head. Bad kitty. See? That's funny. His teenage stepsister got us started with witch hat ring toss and left the four of us alone. Buddy scored a point by moving his foot way past the line. Cheater, Dev taunted. Buddy gave him an ear twist until he was kneeling in pain. Don't piss me off, Buddy told us. I'll get out my stepdad's real cleaver in that blue tool chest. Don't, Buddy, I told him. I'll go home. Nobody's going to leave my party until midnight when the flesh-eating demons fly in. I have to be home by 8, Nita said, but I want to see the demons. Okay, you can leave at 8, but if you have the least points when I win, you're pork chops. He whacked each of us with his cardboard cleaver. Nita got to 10 points before Buddy, the rest of us a point or two behind. Okay, Nita, you're pork chops, chop, chop. He turned out the lights. We could hear him fumbling with the toolbox. Where's Nita? He said in a scary voice. Where's Nita? We heard Buddy stumble into a lamp, which shattered on the floor near us. Nita screamed. Uh-oh, he said. Dad's gonna kill me. He turned on the lights and told her, I was kidding about the cleaver. I know, she said, grinning. Let's do it again. Just then, we heard an angry, drunk monster upstairs roar, Buddy, get your ass up here. The basement door opened. I've never seen a bully so scared. Finger to his lips, he unplugged the remaining lamp. Quick, everyone, hide, hide!
Hey, everybody. This piece is called The Witch of Washington Pond. I've always loved Halloween, feeling the soft warmth of homemade wax candles burning low, telling the huddled, terrified children chilling stories, taking Polaroids of all of us in our costumes, hand-stitched by yours truly. I'm a bit of a helicopter mom, but I'm not a monster. Jason, Kim, and Billy still get to go door to door once a year, filling their pillowcases while I supervise from the sidewalk, dreaming of my time doing the same decades ago. Recently, there have been legends cropping up about the Witch of Washington Pond, a mad woman who snatches up children on Halloween night, never to be seen again. But that won't stop me from bringing my children out on Halloween. Sometimes the experience is worth the risk, and Halloween in Washington Pond is the most beautiful night of the year. I inhaled the loamy musk of the brisk October night. I heard the high-pitched choir-like recitations of trick or treat from groups of children praying that maybe this next house had full-size candy bars. I closed my eyes for 10, 15 seconds at most, enjoying the autumnal beauty. When I opened my eyes again, my children were gone. The well-worn broomstick I use as part of my costume snags on a thorny bush. I drop it impatiently before continuing my sprint through the quickly darkening forest, chest heaving, teeth gritted. If I don't make it to the edge of town before they do, it will all be over. No more candles, no more stories. But never underestimate a determined mother, especially one who's lived in Washington Pond her entire life. I know all the shortcuts through town and invented most of them. As I tear through the stinging, thorny underbrush and burst onto the isolated street leading out of town, I nearly bowl over a plump child in a chicken costume, complete with real feathers and beak hot glued on, eye holes cut neatly into the fabric so as to reveal as little of the child's face as possible. Billy, no, screams Kim, who turns to run back toward her brother. The beautifully stitched tiger costume I made for her just last week is already covered in stains and rips. There will be hell to pay when she gets home. Billy manages to shout, "Go on without," before I cover his face in a chloroform-soaked rag with practiced precision. He's unconscious before I pull him past the tree line. Kim has already followed Billy's advice, but she won't be hard to catch. Jason is the real worry. He's always been the most athletic, but the police station is right by the highway exit, well over a mile away. He'll never make it. I'll gather them up, return them home, and still have plenty of time to return to the festivities and find them a new sibling. Never underestimate a determined mother.
And our last story for tonight, Allison Moore. Spirit. The last time I reached down into a jack-o'-lantern to light the candle, that damn tiny flame licked up and burned the tip of my finger. I dropped the match in disgust, and it fell into the cavity. I watched it burn its way into the cavity wall for a moment, then inhaled and blew it out. I stopped using the real thing after that. My son was getting older anyway, curious, opening and closing and wrapping his tiny toddler fists around anything he could grab. Best to stick to batteries, plastic flickering tea lights that light up with the anticlimactic sliding of a small black switch from left to right. We would walk the neighborhood each year, something always flying around him, a cape, a plastic sword he held aloft, and that one year a stuffed parrot he had crafted onto the end of a broomstick, the perfect pirate companion. He would run and I would chase. We always got into the spirit of things. Tonight I'm having trouble getting the match to light in the wind. I strike one, then another, and I curse out loud, look up at the family walking by in apology. They don't stop to say trick or treat. For a few years, I set a bowl out on the porch, filled and waiting for any hopeful goblin or princess to come and choose a treat. We always returned to an empty dish. I was satisfied with my contribution, unable to stay home and hand out candy if I wanted to be sure to walk the block with my son. I was satisfied, that is, until he became old enough and brave enough to point out that it was probably being stolen by a group of punk kids looting the bowl and leaving none for anyone else. How stupid could I be? The next year, he would not dress up. The year after that, he refused to let me come with him, choosing instead a small band of boys carting pillowcases, apparently too cool to carry anything that might have a handle or appear remotely practical. I stayed behind, jumping every time the doorbell rang, handing out candy bars to the greedy children in their wrinkled, stinking costumes. I did not like that. Who even uses matches anymore? I curse and drop another, resist the urge to slam the pumpkin into the wall. Life is changing and I cannot catch my breath. The lock is new this year. It slides right over his door, left to right, with a satisfying clang. 2 years ago, he got out the window, but the bars fixed that. He can go with me, or not at all. Finally, lit. I walk out to the lawn and hold the glowing pumpkin up, smiling. He watches from behind the bars, his face blank. He looks so foolish. If only he would put on that mask I gave him, just get into the spirit of things. Okay, so we hope everyone enjoyed the stories tonight. Now I get the fun part of handing out prizes. So, for third place, Sarah Ellis giving up. Second prize, it's coming to Sharon Johnson.
Thank you so much.
I'll be mailing your prize to you on Monday.
Keep my prize. This was so much fun. Keep it.
Thank you. And first prize goes to Ina Hyatt, A Hollow Tradition. Did anybody else want to put a bid in on the silent auction before we call it? Going once, going twice? No, okay. So the bookends actually go to John Finner. And the beer mugs go to Mark Paul. The room for another 45 minutes, and many of our members have not seen each other because of Zoom with all of our workshops going online. So please feel free to mingle and see your old friends. If you are new to BWW and this is your first event, please think about coming back and seeing us. We are online, and most of our workshops are online. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And good night to all of our hybrid friends on the wall.
Very creative. Yeah, good. I was bringing the free.
You know, I watching,